This story begins in a graveyard on Halloween night, where a group of youths were causing the kind of trouble you would expect during the holiday. Among the group was a boy named Luke. He had been 13 only a month and thought himself a man too grown to be gallivanting through the streets in search of candy. So instead, he spent his night here, disturbing the dead. He separated from his group only momentarily to read the name of a rather opulent tombstone. It was much larger than the others, and was accompanied by a statue of a man holding a peculiar bowl. He tried to move closer to read the inscription, but as he did, the soil underneath his feet collapsed. When Luke awoke, he felt the back of his head scraping the dirt. He looked up to see his left foot in the hand of a hazy humanoid figure. Whoever they were dragging him carelessly through some dark underground tunnel, and that was enough to trigger his panic.
"What the heck, man?"
Luke screamed as he pulled himself away from his apparent kidnapper. The kidnapper turned around, obviously horrified.
Sorry. Didn't think you'd wake so soon. You're a lot heavier than you look."
The kidnapper apologized. As Luke's vision cleared, he finally got a good look at the man. At first glance, Luke thought it was nothing more than someone masquerading as a zombie. But upon closer inspection, Luke realized this man wasn't wearing a costume, that this thing in front of him was in fact very dead. Luke's panic became blatantly visible.
No, don't panic. It all makes sense in a minute, if you just follow me.
Follow you? Follow you where?
Well, to the council. They have to get situated and figure this out, I suppose.
Luke looked around, trying to understand what this even was. It had to be a dream, but whoever really thinks that? He was unconscious and he knew that, and he also knew that he had no idea where he was, putting him very much at the mercy of this zombie.
Well, come on then. We don't have time to stand around. Meeting's gonna be over soon.
The zombie moved with haste, leaving Luke alone to assess his situation. Luke played with the idea of running the opposite direction, but that would risk getting lost down here. If video games had taught him anything, it was that where there were zombies, there were typically worse things.
I mean, he's not a bad dude, I guess,
Luke thought to himself. Besides, they're dragging me through the dirt part. Deep down, Luke knew he really didn't have a choice either way. So, begrudgingly, he followed his kidnapper. Before Luke even entered the chamber this meeting was being held in, he could hear dozens of voices shouting for a turn to speak. As Luke and his kidnapper entered the room, they were greeted by what appeared to be the head of the council. As Luke expected, he was also a zombie. In fact, every member of the council was undead in some way. At least that meant there was no lich turning people into zombies down here. Hopefully.
"Zared, nice of you to finally join us,"
the councilman yelled from his pedestal, which was just someone's defaced tomb.
Yes, my apologies, but I did find a boy.
A what?
A boy. A boy? Zared, maybe you have forgotten, but it is Halloween night, the one night out of the year that we are granted the opportunity to take back what is ours, and you want to waste our precious time talking about a boy.
Right, sorry.
Now, as I was saying, who are we going to send this year?
"We should send Mort," a random voice yelled from the crowd. "Yes, Mort.
Jedediah, what do you think? Should we send Mort?" the councilman asked.
What did he say?
Jedediah replied like someone who had just been woken up.
"I said Mort. Should we send Mort?"
"Oh, Mort. Yes, keen fellow, got a sword, so..."
"Well, that settles it." The councilman motioned to slam his gavel.
"Don't send Mort, he's gone almost every time and failed,"
another voice from the crowd shouted.
"Then who do you suggest?"
"The boy,"
another voice shouted.
"The boy."
The councilman took a moment to ponder that suggestion. Now, that's not a bad idea. Everyone turned to look at Luke.
They did not see a stoic young man. What they saw was a 13-year-old boy with confusion and fear playing on his face. The councilman left his pedestal to wade through the crowd. He was almost a foot taller than everyone, nearly 2 feet taller than Luke. When he got to the boy, he stood over him like a teacher reprimanding a student. The councilman inspected Luke only briefly before saying, "You are one of us now, boy, so it is only right that you earn your keep." "What? No, I'm not one of you. You're, I'm what, boy? Spit it out." "You're dead." "Of course I'm dead. What else would I be?" "Alive? Like me?" "Alive? You're just as dead as I am, boy." Luke's head started to spin. He couldn't be dead. Could he? "No, I can't be," Luke started to say. "Well, that settles it. Mort your sword." A zombie who had clearly been ripped to shreds more times than anyone should be dragged himself and his sword over to them. The councilman ripped the sword from Mort's limp arm and placed it firmly in Luke's care. "Well, there you are, boy. Godspeed, Jared. Be sure to fill him in on the way." Within moments, the chamber was clear. We should get going." Jared patted Luke on the back empathetically. "Am I really dead?" Well, it's hard to say. You don't necessarily look dead, but you wouldn't be here if you weren't. Maybe retrieving our artifact will help you somehow. That's usually how it goes with these things, right?" Luke took a moment to take a deep breath before saying, "Fine, what's this thing I'm supposed to find?" "Well, this thing is the very reason the living celebrate Halloween." "What? What do you mean?" "Come on, I'll tell you on the way." Jared had led Luke out of the chamber, through the tunnels, and up through a path that led to a swirling blue portal. "So, as you can see, 200 years ago we developed candy here in the States. It was revolutionary. So, naturally, we wanted to share our creation with the world." Luke, who was more concerned with the portal, was only half listening to Jared ramble on about candy. "It was on this very night, in fact, that we invited the entire town to our home to sample the candy. We had only produced enough to fill a single bowl, so we decided to use a very special bowl, one infused with all the best of luck from David's grandmother." Now he had Luke's attention. The boy was visibly confused, but that was nothing new. "So you see, it was a very special bowl, shaped like a happy pumpkin it was. However, on that night we were visited by a coven of witches who lived on the outskirts of town, and while we weren't looking, they stole our candy, bowl and everything." The passion in Jared's voice told Luke this wasn't a joke. "And when we tried to burn them with fire, they cursed us. Could you believe that? Filthy witches. So now we've spent the last 200 years trying to reclaim what is rightfully ours." "Uh-huh. So will this bowl help you cross to the other side or something?" "Well, no, of course not. We just want a bowl back." "Okay," Luke mumbled, still more concerned with the swirling portal in front of him. "So, what's up with this?" Luke shoved his thumb in the direction of the portal. "What, you've never seen a portal before?" No, I can't say I have. It's quite simple. You walk in, you walk out, nothing to it." "Okay, where's it gonna take me?" "Well, you can actually see it through the portal if you look closely." Through the portal, Luke saw a building that looked vaguely familiar. However, it was difficult to get a clear picture of anything through the constant swirl. Luke had to nearly put his head through it to finally realize it was the nursing home, just 2 blocks away from his house. The nursing home? You can't be serious. Don't let his quaint appearance fool you, boy. Evil lurks within those walls. Luke opened his mouth to protest, but was pushed into the portal before he could get a word out. "Well, off you go, Godspeed," was the last thing Luke heard before he was transported to the surface. When Luke's psychedelic trip through the portal ended, he was standing just outside of the nursing home. He took a moment to shake off the haze that comes with magical transportation and looked down, realizing he was still carrying Mort's rusted sword. There was no way they were going to let him bring it inside, but at this point, he didn't really care. He was already dead after all. He walked up to the front door with a bit of haste, trying to bypass all the families trick-or-treating.
An older woman was standing at the threshold of the door with a bowl full of candy. She smiled at Luke as he approached and greeted him warmly.
Oh, hello, you must be here for the sisters.
Yes, Luke replied awkwardly.
Splendid, I'll take you to them.
The woman set the bowl down and escorted Luke to a room decorated with all the things you'd imagine your grandmother to have. Yeah, this is about what I expected, Luke thought. Luke stepped in the room to find three women who looked as ancient as the dinosaurs huddled around an old TV.
Mrs. Selwood, your grandson is here,
Luke's escort announced.
Thank you, honey,
one of the witches said without looking away from the TV. The escort gave Luke one last warm smile and left them alone.
Young man, would you be a dear and get the door?
Another one of the witches said, still fixated on the TV screen. Luke tried to see what had them so captivated, but the screen was so heavily distorted with static. He couldn't identify anything. Luke shrugged and turned to close the door. As he did, the room suddenly dimmed.
You meddle with things that do not concern you, boy.
The witches shouted in a deep unison.
Now, you too will bear their curse.
Whoa, wait, whoa, hold on, I'm just here for a bowl. If we could just...
Before Luke could finish his thought, the room shattered like a glass box, transporting them to a dark and decrepit forest. The witches stood abreast underneath the moonlight. They began to chant in some ancient guttural language that Luke could only assume was demonic. As their chant grew louder, the trees around them began to wither. As everything in the vicinity died, a great crimson aura surrounded them, infusing them, until it turned the three women into a single creature, bearing one elongated body, dozens of insect-like appendages, and three cackling heads. Luke wanted to scream, even wanted to run, but fear kept him perfectly petrified. Suddenly, in his shaking palm, he felt Mort's sword begin to burn with the light of the moon. The once rusted sword now looked like it had been forged by the gods. A bright aura of blue and purple danced around the blade down to its golden hilt. Looking at it put courage into Luke's heart, almost as if he was being possessed by it. The witches let out a bestial roar and lunged for the boy while he was distracted. Without hesitation, almost involuntarily, Luke swung his sword like a batter in the World Series. An arc of moonlight shot from the sword, tearing into one of the witches' heads, severing it from the neck. Luke swung again and again, screaming his warrior's cry of panic. After a dozen swings, the beast had been properly mutilated. Luke couldn't help but laugh in disbelief at his apparent victory. As the witches took in their last breath, the spell was broken, and Luke returned to the room in the nursing home. Unfortunately, so too did the pile of gore that was the witches' human forms.
Oh God!
Luke gagged. He knew had there been any bile in his stomach, he surely would have thrown it up. He did a quick scan for the bowl and found one resembling Jared's description. He quickly collected it and turned to run, but was once again transported elsewhere.
You guys gotta stop doing that.
Luke mumbled in pain as he picked himself up off the floor.
He's done it!
The council cheered. A celebration fit for a Super Bowl victory ensued. The councilman found Luke in the crowd and patted him on the back.
Well done, boy.
What the heck was that? Luke asked, still in disbelief.
That was you unlocking the power of the sword. We've been trying to do it for centuries. Speaking of which, Mort, you're fired. From this day forth, boy, you will be the new GraveGuard.
The crowd let out a rambunctious cheer. What was the point of this? The witches are dead, but you're all still cursed. You bring up a good point. The councilman pondered the question only briefly before taking Luke under his arm.
Well, now we know the new quest our GraveGuard must embark on. What? No, I just want to go home,
Luke said as he pulled himself away.
My boy, our curse is now your curse. The only way to go home is to lift it.
Luke let out that familiar sigh of frustration.
Fine. Where do I start?